today I'm really happy that Michael is has aggressively pursued me for an opportunity to present on Tech Talk, which is not true. But sorry. But so I'm just going to turn it over to Michael. Go ahead.
Yeah, thank you, Ivan. I was very thankful that you graciously offered to allow me to run or do a presentation in this Tech Talk. And before I start, just before I forget, I said on Monday's call that I'm trying to intentionally have a one-on-one with each of the members, or at least as many members of this great city as I can. And I have had an opportunity to meet with Alessandra, Ivan, and Shannon so far, and that's
Mhm.
been awesome getting to know them. But on this call, I'm going to call you out specifically. I'd love to get together with Andy, Talwinder, John, Catherine, and Paul and Michael, but I think we have a time set for tomorrow.
Right
And
on.
no agenda, really just getting to know you more as a person, getting to know what you do. So, if we're able to refer each other, at least, I think that's part of the reason we're part of these groups is to form relationships with one
Mhm.
another, and not just business relationships, but, get to know each other, maybe make some friendships. So with that said, this morning I wanted to do a quick presentation and talk a little bit about what I do and how I do it. And so let me just switch here. I prepared a very, very short PowerPoint. It's only 3 slides because Ivan told me, don't go too deep into a PowerPoint. And I am with you there. PowerPoints can be really boring. Um, and it's really just to give us a visual. Can everyone sort of see what I'm showing right now?
Yes.
Okay. Um, so my company is WebBolt, and what I do is I build websites for small businesses with the target. So the target I'm aiming for is just generally solving any business problems you might have that a website might help with, but more specifically, increasing the conversion rate. And what I mean by the conversion rate is if you like when people come to your website, how do we get them to not bounce and go to a competitor because you've lost them in some way? How do we get them to take action and book a call or phone you or book a meeting or whatever your sort of sales funnel looks like? And so if you have 100 visitors and 10 of them become leads, then the conversion rate is 10%. So that's sort of what I'm aiming at, getting that higher. I think that
Mhm.
is really what the purpose of a business's website should be. And I think, unfortunately, a lot of people think of their website as like sort of, it's just there. I need to have it. It's sort of an online brochure, but it's not actually really doing anything for your business. So that's sort of what I'm trying to focus on helping businesses with. And I wanted to talk really quickly. Okay, Michael has his hand raised. What's up?
I see you're doing the websites. Do you also do apps for businesses?
What kind of apps? Like, do you mean mobile apps or web apps?
Yeah, yeah. So if somebody wanted to have an app that either ran on Android or Apple, whatever, for their business, do you do that also?
I do not do mobile apps.
Because I'm
At
just
least
thinking of somebody that I know who does that, which might be like um, a really great fit where you maybe can work off each other a little bit.
yeah, that would be great. I'd love if you would connect us.
Okay.
I do and have done web apps, which the difference is you access them on your computer through a website. Um, I guess think of something like uh, Facebook is kind of like a website, but it's also a web app. But mobile apps, no. So that would be a pretty cool connection.
Okay.
Um, so I want to talk about a client I worked with really quickly and just sort of the results we were able to get. I didn't put their before images. You can go, there's a case study page on my website, so you could see the before and after images of their website. But some of the results we were able to get was we had a 150% lead increase in a similar amount of time with this a similar amount of traffic. So they were really stoked about that. I was pretty stoked about that too. Shannon, who is they're a husband and wife duo who runs this business, and the way she put it is the lead form has been on fire. So that was pretty cool. And they also told me that the quality of the leads went way up because they said the website was able to sort of weed out unqualified leads and weed out a lot of the tire kickers and like weird calls that they get for things they don't do. And also, she said people felt like they knew us when they called us. So a lot of the heavy lifting was done where we had already sort of built that trust. Some people felt like they even knew us personally when they called us and used our names. So I'm not just saying this to be like, hey, look at this great thing I did. What I want to do is say, okay, that's what you say you do, and here's how you've done it for someone in the past, but how? Like, how do you do it? Like, what is the difference between someone who makes a pretty website that doesn't do these things and someone who makes a website that is able to get these kinds of results? And so I'm going to sort of go into a little bit about that. What I'm going to do is I'm going to share the screen on their website, and I'm sort of going to circle some of the thought process behind the things that I've done in order to get these kinds of results. And the hope is that you guys will be able to take these principles, go back to your own website, and maybe compare and see how it measures up to these sort of principles. And from there, you can either try to implement those changes yourself, or you can call up your trusted web guy and say, hey, I want to make these changes, or you can get in contact with me and I can go through and help you with that. So what I want to talk about right now, I'm not going to go through their whole website, I don't think. I'm just going to talk about the top section. So the top section of a website, let me go back. So this is called the hero section, or it's referred to as above the fold. And what that means is it's the first thing you see when you go to a website without having to scroll down. So what I want to talk about today is what are 4 crucial questions that you need to answer for your visitors in that section. So above the fold, without having to scroll, you need to answer these questions very clearly and very quickly for your visitors so that they don't bounce, so that you don't lose them, so that they're not confused. So the first one is, what do you do? And this might seem kind of obvious, but a lot of websites don't effectively communicate this in a clear way. Recently, I did an interview for a funeral home magazine, and it was about websites. And the task they had given me was to look at funeral home websites across Canada and sort of look for the good, the bad, and the ugly. And unfortunately, there was a lot more ugly than there was good. But one thing I noticed is how many funeral home websites I would go there, and from the website, I couldn't tell that it was a funeral home website. It had no real text that told me what they did. It had images of like trees and rivers, so it kind of looked like a camping website. So this is really important, that you need to be able to quickly, right, not with tons of text, but really quickly, someone should say, oh, I get it, I know what you do. The second question is, what is the value? Or if I could put it another way, the first question is, what do you do? The second question is, and what will you do for me? So how are you going to solve my problem? Why do I want this product that you're selling or service? Like, you have to show that what you do is valuable. The third one is, why should I trust you? Right? So you can tell me what you do, you can tell me the value of it. I can do this, and it's going to give you a better life or whatever, or it's going to give you a better rate on this, that, or the other. But the question is, okay, you say you can do that, but how can I trust you? How do I know that you can actually do that? So building trust. And then the fourth one is, how do I get it? And again, this is another one that I see a lot of people missing on, unfortunately, where there either is no real call to action, or you don't see the call to action until you scroll all the way to the bottom, or the call to action isn't clear, or it's sort of just like learn more. which is kind of soft. It's not really like, hey, book a meeting now, start the process now. So those four sort of crucial questions: what do you do? What is the value? Why should I trust you? And how do I get it? Are four things that you want to do right on the homepage, right at the top, really quickly and really clearly. And I think if you do those four things, you are going to see an improvement, provided you have traffic, which is another topic, but you are going to see an improvement in your conversion rate on your website. So that's the end of the PowerPoint. I'm going to switch to the website itself and talk a little bit more about their thing and my process of answering these four questions. But I also don't want to just steamroll you all and ramble. So I don't know if there's any questions or comments before I keep going.
I have one. What do you recommend for why should I trust you? Is that showing clients or how long you've been established, or what is that process?
Sure. So I could tell you, but I'd rather show you in the next
Okay.
section when I share you. But that it's an excellent question. There is a few different ways you can do it. And I would also say that I'm sympathetic to the fact that if you're just starting out, it might be harder for you to do this right at the top of your website. But I would say the second you get that first client and a happy client, use that to your advantage, use that case study. But there are also other ways to do it other than just review. So I'll switch over right now.
Thank you.
So this is their website, and I'm going to go through and I'm going to color code things. So let's say, what do you do? I'm just going to write the four questions here. What is the value slash, why should I care? Some variation of that. Why should I trust you? How do I get it? Can you guys see that text?
Yes.
Okay. Yeah, I'm just going to color code these. So this is blue. This is green. This is pink. And this is yellow. So let's start with, what do you do? So there's many different ways. And now you have to remember here, because I talked about above the fold, I'm using a giant 32-inch screen. Most people's screens are not going to be this big. Maybe they're on a laptop and, this is what they see. But anyways, so let's just imagine that you can't see what's below here. Let me just make a line. So let's start with, what do you do? So what are the ways that I've gone about clearly communicating and quickly communicating what you do? So the first thing is, these people have right in the title of their business, which is great. Not everyone has this, what they do. So we do shower restoration. Now, when people go to websites, just so you know, this is how all of us go to websites. What we do is we start at the top left, and then we move to the right, and then we move down to the left, and then we move to the right, and then we move down. So that's how we sort of like a Z pattern. So right at the top left, I know what you do shower restoration. Then next, what do you do? Well, you can get a new shower without the renovation. So that sort of tells you what you do. It's maybe not the clearest. It doesn't tell you exactly, we'll remove mold or whatever, but it kind of says, okay, so you do something with showers to make them pretty or make them new. And then here we restore your shower. Sorry, that was kind of ugly. Not very good with my mouse here. We eliminate mold. And then we have this rotating banner of before and after. So if you're not clear on what we do with the text, then you're going to be pretty clear on what we do by literally seeing it with your eyes, right? A picture's worth 1,000 words. I would say, just generally, similar to what I was saying before about the layout, this is what you typically see, where you'll see the text on the left and then the images on the right. I think that's a good layout for your website. Most of you probably have this already because the messaging is what they're probably going to look at first before the images. But then make sure the image that you're using is actually helping to communicate that message of what you do. What's the value? Why should I trust you? Rather than, some people will just put an image of some mountains, which might feel nice, but if anything, it's just confusing. So we've sort of highlighted what do they do. I think by this point, someone's like, okay, I get what you do. Now, what are you going to do for me? What's the value? Like, what's the thing that's going to make this attractive to me?
Without
Well,
renovation.
I'm sorry.
Without renovation.
There you go. So you can get a new shower. Now, I know that I had a new shower when we moved in, and over years it was not new anymore, and it was discouraging. It was gross when I went in there. It wasn't terrible when I would have guests and they would shower. My wife would be like, "Oh my gosh, I think there's mold in the corner." Like, right? So that's terrible. People want a new shower. They want it to be clean. They want to have that sense of like pride in their washroom. So you can get a new shower and without the renovation, right? So part of the way people think is, oh, I have this really old shower, but I don't have the time and the money for a renovation. That's very invasive. So we're saying, hey, we'll give you a new shower without the renovation. That's interesting. Okay, so what did you do for me? Well, we restore your shower to its like new beauty. And just so you know, a lot of the time you can hit two birds with one stone with this. In fact, I think that you should. What do you do and what is the value? I think some people, they'll say what they do. Like, I'm a web designer. If on my website I say, oh, I do HTML, CSS, JavaScript, and responsive, like I'm using all these techie terms, I might have told you what I do, but it's not really clear. Rather, I should find a way to say what I do in a way you'll understand and provide the value. So I make websites that get you leads, right? That tells you what I do and it tells you the value. So that's just an aside, but back to what's the value. We eliminate mold and harmful bacteria. Oh, wait a second. You mean it's not just ugly? It can be potentially harmful to me, right? So we're gonna help you with that. And for the fraction and cost, a fraction of the cost and time of renovations. So I would say right there, you've not only told them what you do, but you've really pitched it as this is something you want. This is something that's good for you. This is going to be an excellent result. And then in addition to this, okay, well, what's the value? Well, again, here the pictures are serving that purpose and showing, hey, maybe this is what you have and this is what you can have, right? Maybe you're looking at this and you're like, hey, my shower looks that bad. My shower looks like crap too. I want to have a shower that looks bright and beautiful. So that's how we've answered that second question here. And just again, I didn't highlight this before, but in the menu, if you want to know more about what we do, here's our services, here's our gallery. And I would say the gallery is also going to do that. What value is it to me? So now the third question is, okay, and why should I trust you? Well, I think this one's pretty obvious, but we've highlighted right at the top, taking advantage of the fact that David and Tabitha run an excellent business and have very happy customers. So the first thing I wanted to highlight was that they are the winners of the Homestars Best of Awards for 2 years, and they have a star score of 98%. And if you want, you can also click on this and it'll take you to their Homestar page where you can see all that for yourself. They have a badge. They're a verified business, so you can trust us. We're not, some sketchy scam website. And we have 5-star Google reviews. And again, you can click on this and go to their Google reviews. And in addition to this, I would say, again, these images are building trust because we're showing you, not just telling you, that I can actually do what I say. So that's why you can trust us. And then again, we have here in the menu testimonials, which if you click down, it'll bring you to the testimonial section. So we've answered those three questions. What do you do? What is the value? Why should I care, right? Why should I trust you? And we've done it fairly quickly. I would also say, again, gallery is going to build trust, and also a little bit more of what you do and why I should care. And then the last question, very important. How do I get it? Okay, you've sold me. How do I start the process? Well, click right here and get a free quote. And also right up here, again, this is important. This is a little small tidbit. Put it in your main section here with the content, but also put it at the top right, because of that. People are going to start at the top, move to the right. So our brains are kind of trained to look for that button in the top right of a navigation. So it's a good idea to have your call to action up there and in two places. So yeah, this is how we have done this on their hero section or above the fold, and it's had excellent results. Yeah, and that's sort of what I wanted to share today. And we can either stop there and just have a discussion, or we can, sort of go through the rest of the website and show you guys a little bit more about answering those four questions in different ways and different sections that I think are essential to every business's website. So it looks like we have two questions. I think Michael was first, so go ahead.
So when I go to my website, my number one peeve that I have with, I'm going to say most websites, and I don't know why people bury this, is I am looking for contact us. I want a phone number. I want an email. I want to know where your business is physically located, if you have a physical location, and why that information is buried on, I'm going to say 90+% of most websites. It is, I don't understand it, but when I can't contact you and you want to make me work to contact you, I'm probably not going to want to do business with you. So I'm
Right.
glad that you've put out there, like, get a free quote, but I'd love to see a contact us, because sometimes I don't want to write a quote thing. I just want to call you and say, I got a question and I want to get an answer to my question.
Fair enough. Fair enough. That's a good piece of information that I'll take into consideration. I would say on this site, if you do quick get a free quote, it brings you down to sort of a contact section. And what I've done here is I have a quote form, obviously right here, that has all the information. Or if you don't really want to do a quote, then here's our phone number if you'd rather call us. If you're not really fill out a form and do the whole email thing, here's our phone number. Part of the reason I make this big is because I know a lot of people who maybe are not going to want to fill out a form are maybe people who are more elderly, and they're not really about, this filling out forms and emails, and they don't really want to go through all of that. And a lot of, elderly people, it's not just elderly people, but that's one person I'm thinking about. They have homes, they have showers, they might want to work with them, but they're like, I don't know how to fill out this form. Oh, boom, here's a giant phone number.
Yeah.
But that's a good point. I could always add right up here, contact us, which would just go to that same section.
Yeah, no, I mean, and the fact that, I mean, you did put the phone number in the quote area and you made it big. I think that's a great thing. Myself, I might not click on the get free quote part.
Right. Right. Fair enough.
Yeah. But
Thank you for that feedback.
I like the way you've laid the site out. It looks really good. It looks, you know what, it's clean. Sometimes people are trying to impress you so much that they put a lot of needless, I'll call it garbage for lack of a better word, on the page, and clutter. Maybe that's the word, clutter, right? And this is really good because it shows you, like you said, what they can do. You're not getting into the technical how we do it. Some people might want to know that, but probably a lot of people just want to know, you can come to my house and you can make my old shower look great again.
Right.
And that's what I need to know. It's like what you said earlier with the web thing. We do CSS and all that, and most people will go, I don't even know what a CSS is. Just, can you do my site or not?
Yes. And it's a good point that you talk about clutter because, something I talk about, and this, makes writers sad, but generally people are not reading a lot of your website. So like I go to a lot of websites and what I see a lot is like, hey, what we do, and then it's like a 6-line paragraph, and then there's another paragraph. And the reality is most people are not reading that. In fact, most people sort of get overwhelmed by that. And
Mhm.
it's like I don't have time to read a book and try to wrap my head around. So you have to be able to, with few words, like you'll notice here, there's very few things that are over 2 lines of text. Few words tell people what they're looking for quickly and efficiently. um, and I know that that gets me maybe in trouble. I had a talk with Ivan this week with the SEO guys because it's like more words is better, but there is a section where we've sort of helped deal with that. But anyways, moving on. I think Catherine was first.
Yeah. I was writing a question when you showed where is the link to the website testimonials? You said something about that in the trusting.
Yes. So up here, I know it's sort of hidden. It looks like the scribblings of a madman at this point. But if you click testimonials,
Okay.
it'll bring you down, or you can just scroll. This is just a one-page website. And this is the testimonials.
Okay. Awesome.
Now, I
Thank
will say something about this. So again, I'm using everything here that I'm doing is very, very intentional. Every word I'm thinking about, is this effectively answering those 4 questions? So,
you.
we've restored over 3,500 showers. So that's building that trust. Like we didn't start yesterday, right?
Mm.
We've restored thousands of showers and every style, oh, is this going to cover my case? Well, every style. We do homeowners, renovators, real estate, right? So we've been around the block a little bit, highlighting these again. And then here's the thing about showcasing reviews. Some people will say, man, I have 25 great reviews. I want to use all of those reviews. And so they'll put 25 cards and it's like review, 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 review. And it's like over and over. And to be honest with you, that just becomes noise to a visitor. That, what you want to do rather is you can link out. Maybe you want to put on a different page your list of reviews, or you want to link out to the Google reviews, but you want to pull out the best reviews that are really going to highlight um, that are really going to help sell your business rather than just like uh, review vomit, if I could say, like word vomit, where you're just review vomit, where you're like review bombing people with too much information that they're not going to read. So here we have a rotating banner that highlights no more than one at a time. Um, so that's sort of the logic behind here. And then you'll see in almost every section a call to action again. Get a free quote. You don't have to look for the call to action. And if you want more reviews, then you can click read more reviews. And I think that links out to Homestars.
Okay. Now, if you have a video review, that would be a link you would recommend then, eh? So it
Oh,
doesn't.
absolutely. I think video reviews are great. In fact, just go to my website quickly. I recommended to them if you could get a video review, that would be really good. Um, and I think they had reached out to someone, but they weren't able to. But on my website, I have a video review from this client, like a testimonial. And I don't know if someone knows what the metrics are, but there are metrics on how much video of any kind will boost user engagement, boost sales on your website. So if you have videos that can explain what you do in a good way, that can show before and afters, that show testimonials, then absolutely you should be using those on your website because they're going to be more effective than just words for sure.
Okay, thank you.
And I think Ivan had his hand up, but he
Yeah, I dropped off for a
canceled it.
second. Yeah, I dropped off for a second, but the question I had was, how often do you suggest that people change their above the fold, the hero section? Should it just stay? If you create a really nice hero section, should you just leave it, or should it be changed every, so often?
Well, it's hard for me to say for, someone who I'm not in relationship with, like if they're not a client.
Mhm.
If they are a client, I don't sort of just do like a one and done, nice to meet you, see you later. I usually continue that relationship, and I'm measuring the website. So I'm actively watching the traffic and how many people are converting and how many leads are you guys getting. And I'll
Mhm.
often follow up with my clients, say, hey, like, how are things doing? Is business still going good? Whatever. And I think I would have a mentality of, if it ain't broke, don't fix it.
Okay.
But in measuring it, that's when I'll be able to see, well, if it is broke, then we need to fix it. Or, hey,
Hmm.
we're not getting as good results on this as we had hoped. Maybe we should try this instead. So I would say that would probably be, I think maybe what you're talking about, or maybe what you're getting at, is the idea of having fresh content for the sake of, Google ranking engines, in which case, you could get in there and tweak things if you want, but there are other ways to keep fresh content on your website. Maybe if you have a podcast or a YouTube channel or a blog, that's going to be fresh content that whenever you're publishing a new thing, it's going to be switching out. So does that kind of answer your question?
For sure, for sure. Yeah, I know that the Google, they like to see it swapped at least every 6 months. But again, like you said, if you have user generated content, that's fine. But I just thought maybe you're looking at it and you're saying that when you're looking at stats for the site, the analytics, you're realizing that there's a surge right after new content is put on there, or the new header, and then it starts to die off after a while. So the cycles tend to be around 4 to 6 months.
Mm.
I wasn't sure if you had any idea on that.
Yeah. So one thing that I would recommend this client, I think it'll change client per client. One thing I would recommend for sure is, hey, every once in a while, let's update the before and after photos, because you're very busy and you work pretty much 6 days a week. And I know you're taking photos, right? So let's update, or let's add more photos. That's a great way to uh, to do that. As well as, like, as you get more reviews, right? Maybe they're going to win best of award 2025 next year. You're going to
Mhm.
want to add that. Yeah, John.
Yeah, I have to sign up. I left some comments in the chat, but one thing I'll point out in my
Oh,
chat, I really appreciate, I mean, I love the simplicity of your design, and I see it working really well with an omni-channel marketing strategy where people have an Instagram or other really engaging social media channels. You've already built your trust there. They come here, they just want to buy, and this just kind of like really nails home the message. So just want to say, really love this designs here.
thanks, man.
Yeah.
I,
So
I
I got to
really
sign out.
appreciate
So
that.
yeah, talk to
Good
you
seeing
guys
you, John.
later.
All right.
Bye.
Yeah, and just it's interesting what he said. Someone said to me recently, I was meeting with this marketing guy, and he said something to me that maybe I thought was, well, that's a little mean to say to me, considering you know what I do. But he said, websites are dead. It's all about, he goes, it's all about click funnels. Now, I don't know if you guys know what click funnels are, but the idea of a click funnel is it's a landing page that's supposed to sort of funnel you down into taking action, signing up for a newsletter, or, getting into the next stage or whatever of your sales channel. And it struck me as funny, because I was like, I didn't say this to him because, I didn't really want to have like a back and forth, but ClickFunnels is a website. So I thought that that was sort of a weird comment. But I also understood where he was coming from, because I think a lot of business websites, you go there and it's sort of like, here's our history, here's our staff, here's our about us. And it's very informational, but it's not really sales oriented, right? So I'm sympathetic to what he meant by that. And so what I want to do is, I think that you don't have to say, okay, well, then do I want a website or a click funnel? I would say, well, let's find a way to blend both. And this is a one-page website, but some businesses, a one page doesn't work. So if you need, multiple pages, I would say you should have two kinds of pages. You have the sales pages, which are like this, which are very pared down, which are really getting to the point, which are really offering the value that you're offering, not getting too much into the nitty gritty and the details. And then you can also have those informational pages for people who want more information. Maybe they want to learn more about your history, or how you do what you do, or more technical stuff, if that kind of makes sense.
So
One
I have,
other tip, if I could add one other tip that I recommended to them, and it's funny because this is one that they both said, you know, we weren't really sure about this, but we sort of trusted your lead, is I recommended, particularly because they were a small, just the two of them business, that we add this about section and have their image. And this is, just so you know why this is collapsible, is I'm trying to, on the one hand, help with having a lot of text, which helps with Google ranking, but also not overwhelm someone with taking up too much real estate with lines and lines of text. So it's collapsible, so it doesn't take up too much space. But if you want to read more, you can. And then here I have a little bit about David and Tabitha, where they came from, how they got into this business. And again, this is very intentional in the way that it's written in answering those 4 questions again. But the effect that they said this had, which they weren't expecting, was people would call them and they'd say like, hi Tabitha, can I talk to David? And she's like, Tabitha was saying, like, people call me and they feel like they know me, and it's done a lot of that heavy lifting and that elimination of that awkward phase where you're strangers, where people feel like they have a relationship with us already. And it's helped them to, obviously we've improved the conversion of the website, but it's also helped them with their conversion rate of converting those leads into customers. So I would say if you don't have a section like this, that you definitely should. And it sort of ties into what Ivan was talking about on Monday with your brand versus your personal brand. You want to use your personal brand. And if I could share, sorry, I'll get to you in a second, Michael, I see your hand. But Ivan, actually, it's funny that sometimes we don't practice what we preach, right? Or it's like the home painter website who's never painted the home painter who's never painted his own house. um, I say this, and I say it's good to build trust, it's good to have your image, but I had a meeting with him last week and he was like, Michael, you need to change your website. And I'm like, what? And he's like, I like you, I've got to know you, and I go to your website and there's like this picture of this guy, and I'm like, who the heck is this guy? And there's no picture of you. So I graciously took that feedback, and now there is a picture of me on my website. So thank you, Ivan. But it's funny how we sort of get into a bubble and we can give other people insights that we don't take ourselves. Anyways, Michael.
I just wanted to say I really like this because people like to often know who's behind the business. You go to a lot of websites and you don't really know, especially with a lot of businesses being home based nowadays, you don't know where they are, who they are. And it adds that personalization
Mm-hmm.
that, yeah, this is a couple that have a business, and you want to support a couple that has a business. They're not a big multinational corporation.
Oh, yeah.
Right. And so, when where the business operates, and if you're in that local area, a lot of people want to support a local business as opposed to a multinational one.
Absolutely. No,
So I think
100%.
it's a great add to the thing, and I mean, I wrote some comments, but I like how clean your site is. It's simple, but it really gets the information that you need across
Mm-hmm.
quickly and efficiently. And I think that's, at the end of the day, that's what you want your website to do.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, I think the other
And
thing, yeah, go
I
ahead.
I just want to throw this out there, Michael, because you shared that information about our conversation. So I'll share the next thing. Was immediately afterwards, he says to me, well, Ivan, since we're sharing, I'm going to tell you a little bit about This Great Cities website, and then we went through it. He said, you need to get rid of some of this stuff off the homepage. And as soon as he said it, Catherine, I got to tell you, you can't see your homepage the same way.
no.
Right. So I immediately changed it. Thank
And
you.
you know
Like,
what, Ivan, this goes back to something somebody told me years ago when I was doing some web pages for a professional organization. Never, ever be your own proofreader.
that's right.
You
Yeah.
cannot proofread your own work.
No,
You
that's right.
don't have the perspective of another person. You
Michael,
have
it looked perfect up until Michael opened his
Yeah.
mouth and told me.
You guys are looking at it as web designers or site designers, right? Look at it as your business. So, Michael said, well, I'm not going to put all the coding and all that. It depends who his customer is. If
Right.
he's looking to partner with people like you, Ivan, he wants to get your attention. This is what I can do for you.
Right.
But for me, it means absolutely sweet bloody all. Right?
Right.
You know what I mean? Right?
Right.
So yeah, you guys got to stop. And that's why I always give you my feedback. I'm not a marketer, I say, but I'm telling you, I am a 58-year-old woman and I have the concentration of a gnat, okay, length of time. And so exactly what Michael says, I want to see the pictures and see if it interests me enough to read a couple of things. I actually look at articles and go, oh, that's a 3-minute read. No,
Yeah.
let's look for another one that's a minute.
You're actually something more important, Catherine. You're a user. And
Well,
when a user gives you feedback, that's, that should weigh more than the coder,
Yeah.
because the user's the one there's going to be more of them. If there's one of you that sees a potential issue, there's going to be more that see it. And
yeah, knowing
you
your
know,
audience, right?
right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Michael, I did have a question for you though.
Yeah.
How I
And we got
noticed,
Maggie up there too.
yeah, sorry. I noticed that this is a one pager, but you have a very small menu bar, right? You've only got the four words there, plus your call to action. Is there a kind of a guide in how many should be there?
I probably have to give more thought. I don't like to make hard and fast rules because I think everyone's business is different. And although there are certain sections here and certain principles that I'm using, it has to be, everything is going to be different for every business. But what I would say is you don't want to put too many items in that top bar because, again, it's contributing to that overwhelming the visitor. You don't need when I was looking at the funeral home website, some of them had like 11 items and like 9 of those were drop down menus with more items. And that's not good. You can put that stuff in the footer. So if people are looking for those more, detailed pages, they have them. But you're going to want to use every section of your website intentionally about how is a viewer going to see this? How is this going to help in driving them to take action? And yeah, having too many items is definitely going to overwhelm them. But you do point out a good thing that I'm not linking to every section of the website, but I am linking to things that I think this is what's going to be most important to people.
Okay. All right. And sorry, you had it was a two-part question. Sorry, Maggie. You were just saying about conversion rates. And I don't know if that was just an offhanded comment, but what should your conversion rate be? Like, how many leads to
Yeah.
qualify and so forth?
Again, this is different depending on the industry, but the general thing that what most people get is, or I should say, what most people are aiming for. So if you're in this range, you're doing good, is 3 to 5%. And I know that doesn't sound large, but you have to remember that a lot of people are just doing what, digital version of window shopping. They're killing time at work. They're researching. They're not, maybe that person will come back later, but they're kind of just like scrolling through and learning. If you can get higher than that, 6 or 7%, then you're doing really well. Obviously, some websites like Amazon or like really really established brands that everyone knows and already trusts, whatever, probably have more like a 10% conversion rate. But yeah, I hope that answers your question.
And that's from leads, from actual form filled out, or from
Yes.
landing?
Well, it depends. It depends what is a conversion, right? For me, a conversion is someone has filled out a book a meeting form. For someone who's selling a course, their conversion is going to be how many people signed up for the course and paid.
Yeah.
If you're selling candles, it's how many people bought a candle. So yeah,
So it depends on what your call to action. So yours is a quote. So
right.
it's filling out the quote form.
Yes. In their case, the conversion is not necessarily a customer, because it's a lead. So once you get a lead, now you have to, I can't necessarily, the
Yeah.
website can help you in converting if it does a good job of building trust. But if you're just a total dope and and you are a jerk and people are like, hey, your website sold me, but you're kind of a bit of ding dong, I don't want to work with you. Um, I feel really bad. I see Maggie is gone now. Are you still there, Maggie?
Yeah. Sorry about that. Thank you.
Yeah, no worries.
Hey, don't worry about it. No, I was just gonna comment on what Michael Palmer said about you can't proofread your own website. So to a certain extent, yes, but to a certain extent, no. I guess maybe because being a writer, I do proofread my own stuff. But I also can proofread other people's things too. Now, again, the graphics and things like, well, I have a bit of a design background as well. So like I know with me, I write something, I'm a lousy typist. Okay, so I'm typing, I have to go and proofread everything, make sure there's no spelling mistakes and things like that. I mean, I use spell check, but sometimes that doesn't always work if you've got a word that's right. But like it's a different word totally. So I have to do that. But so I think you've got to balance it. I also have the thing too, when I work with magazines, they get editors who are, editing. And I'd had that happen, they wanted a little tweak here and there, and that's fine. That's just normal. But I think it all depends on, on the situation.
Right. I agree. Listen, so I hate to wrap it up because we're
Specialized are always good, but you need to at least do some of your own as well.
yeah, I agree.
If
Listen,
I could add one thing before you wrap up, Ivan.
sure.
In the nature of practicing what I preach, if I were to give you guys a call to action, I would say you can take this information and go back and look at your website. But if you go to my website, and you don't have to, you can just send me an email directly. I offer sort of a free review where I'll do this, where I'll either do it on a video and send it to you, or on a call where I'll go through your website and I'll annotate it this way. And I'll say, hey, this is great. And what I think you're missing is this, and sort of give you a better idea of, if I were to do your website, this is probably how I would try to go about communicating what you do, and answering those 4 questions. So that's something I'd love to let you guys know is available.
Thank
Great.
you.
So listen, I want to say something else, which kind of goes back to one of Catherine's previous morning coffees, is how you build relationships and how you share information about yourself that helps to build trust when you get to know somebody. And I just wish that everybody was on the call earlier. Michael and I were having a conversation because I noticed that he has a sexy camera, Catherine, that when he moves his head, it tracks with him automatically.
One of those before, have you?
Yeah, it's pretty cool. Now I noticed that he had the guitars in the back, and then he told me that he also has a recording studio, which means this man not only makes great websites, but he's a singer. Maybe one day he might. Forget AI, forget Suno, right? We have somebody that actually sings with a human voice. So anyway, just sharing that with you. Maybe if you do that appointment with him, that he might
Serenade.
Yeah, that'll be amazing. Okay, I look forward to it. So thank you everybody for coming out, and I'll see you Monday morning for Monday Morning Coffee with Catherine. And Catherine, you're back on Monday?
I am. Well, fingers crossed, everything
Fingers
stays
crossed.
well at home. Yeah.
Yeah, good. Okay, everybody.